Help me ducks, welcome back to the Hermit's Cave. Hope everybody's weekend is going well. Thank you to everybody who joined me last night for the live couple of category cards. It was great to go back in time and talk about, my journey with YouTube in particular and reflect. And it was, there's been some nice comments left on that video as well. So I appreciate that. During that live, I did mention at the end that I would be back today. I've still got 3 decks to review for Cheryl from Oneness Emporium in relation to the live the week before when we did the spotlight. And today we are going to look at Back to the Future tarot deck and guidebook. Now this is a huge part of my younger years. I was at school when the first Back to the Future came out. In fact, I've got the DVD trilogy. I've always had this in some form, even when VHS, I used to have the VHS tapes, and of course now we've got the DVD versions. And what will ever come next? Well, it's downloaded now, isn't it? I don't know what platforms these stream on, but I love a DVD. I've got a library of DVDs. First film is obviously going back in time from 1985. I want to say, was it 1985 or 1986? I think it was 1985, and then went back to 1955, where Marty McFly's parents met. Just seeing if it says on the back about the year, but I'm pretty sure it was 1955. And then the second film goes 30 years into the future. So we're talking 2015, I think. And then the third film goes way back to 1885, where they went back 100 years and it was the Wild West. Now, very 80s, but of course, I loved it. Great soundtrack, Huey Lewis in the News, The Power of Love. But I remember going to see the first film in the cinema with my friends, and that felt cool as well, going to the cinema without parents, So I've got a real fondness for Back to the Future films. This is the box, nice sturdy box. Purple on the inside. This one is Titan Books. They do a lot, like Insight Editions as well, do a lot of fandom type decks. We have the cards here. I think that's the flux capacitor. It has been a few years actually since I've watched the films. I may, with it being a Sunday, I may watch 1 or 2 this afternoon actually. They've got a rose petal finish back, where I'm from. I think it's the first time Titan Books have used a rose petal finish, which is really unusual. You get them a lot with indie decks, but the quality of this deck is exceptional. We've got the book here. I like the book because at a quick glance for the context, you've got all the characters here. So the Fool is obviously Marty McFly. We've got Doc Brown for the Magician. Clara as the High Priestess. Lorraine as the Empress and George. So the Empress and Emperor, the parents, obviously. And for the Majors, we get a 4-page colour rendition of the card. And for the Minors, we get thumbnails. And we get upright and reverse meanings. But I like this quick glance here. You don't get that for the minor arcana. The minor arcana tend to be more scenic rather than characters, so things from the film. Although they could have done the courts, I suppose. They could have told you the courts. But anyway, we've also got at the back, caring for your deck, methods for reading tarot, and some spreads, and about the author and the illustrator. So yeah, nice little handy book. Let's bring the camera down. Just went to grab my cup of tea to have a sup, and it wasn't here. And I realised I'd half made it in the kitchen, so it's still warm. It didn't have any milk in it, so I had to sort that out. But I can relax now and have a nice cup of tea and have a look at these cards. All right, so in terms of which people always seem to appreciate around looking at card sizes and that sort of thing, I think it looks like a pretty standard tarot size. Yeah. Cardstock is lovely. Like I said, it's got a rose petal finish front and back. These are the backs, which are reversible, and yeah, there is a border with the image on the inside, title at the bottom, numbers at the top. So let's begin. I just need to create some space there so I can put my cuppa. All right, so we have Marty McFly as our fool, the protagonist of the story. And I'm assuming, well, I shouldn't assume really, because these films are nearly 40 years old. Well, they're 40 years old this year. Oh my gosh, 40 years. You know, in the 80s, I would never have gone to see a film that was 40 years old. That would have been 1945, the end of the Second World War. How old do I now feel? Wow, 40 years ago since this film came out. Or the first one anyway. Then we have Doc Brown, the magician. I mean, he's the inventor, isn't he? So he's going to be the magician. There's no other thing for it. The High Priestess is Clara Clayton. And obviously these are focusing on all three films. So that's why we're getting characters from perhaps the third film or the second film or different. You're going to get like the Empress, obviously, and the Emperor is Marty McFly's parents, which is Lorraine and George McFly. But I think they appear from that initial quick look that we had a look at during Spotlight in different outfits, because they're also around in the future. Okay, so the Hierophant is Gerald Strickland with his whistle. So a teacher, the Hierophant. Our lovers. So Marty and Jennifer. Marty's love interest. The Chariot, of course, is the DeLorean. Taking them, the time machine that takes them between the time frames. Strength, that classic scene at the end of the first film where that fist is clenching and you're like, come on. I mean, not that we advocate for violence, but back in the 80s in that cinema, it was like, come on, George. Stand up to Biff. Here we have the Hermit, which is Doc in the Western. I look at this cowboy town we've got here. Old saloon bars and things. The Wheel of Fortune. Again, part of the DeLorean. The flux capacitor. Justice card here is Chief Marshal, which is also James Strickland. So we saw Gerald Strickland as the Hierophant. The Hanged Man. Oh, that scene. That's Marty, obviously. And then we have the Death card, and that's Mad Dog. Oh, I know I've got two cards stuck together there. Einstein, the dog. Loved Einstein. The Devil, of course, has to be Biff. Biff in the future. having got all his wealth because he took that sports almanac back, of course, and then was able to know the outcome of lots of different sport games and place bets, which I suppose anybody would do, really, wouldn't they? The tower is the Hill Valley clock tower that got struck and the time stopped, didn't it, for all those years. I love how this looks like a bird. The star, oh. So Marvin, this is the Enchantment Under the Sea ball, which was the kind of climax of the film. The moon. So that's Lorraine in the future. It's really weird saying Lorraine in the future when that future is now in our past. And we haven't got hoverboards, and we haven't got 3D Jaws coming out of the cinema into the square and swallowing people. But I remember thinking as a kid that the year 2000 would be flying around in flying cars. The sun is Jennifer Parker. Love the judgment card. This is Mayor Wilson, Goldie. Mayor Goldie Wilson. Honesty, decency, integrity. Love that. He was working in the diner. And then we have the world card, Hill Valley, 2 miles. And you can see the flames from the DeLorean as it's going back to the future. But again, that's brilliant for the world card, that cyclical motion. I'm not quite sure why we're starting with kings. So I'm going to pause and put these in my order. Okay. So now we know who the characters are. I'm not going to spend too long on the minors. What I will say about this deck, and it's worth repeating because I know we said it during the spotlight, but recently the decks that have been released by Titan or Insight, they've really upped their game. There were some, if you think of like Sonic the Hedgehog, which with these kind of what we referred to as lazy pips, these are all seeing it now. The Wizard of Oz deck that I did last week is brilliant. It's probably one of my favourite. That's by Insight Editions. But both Titan and Insight Editions that do these kind of fandom decks have really upped their game. The quality has improved, the images have improved, and they're just really, really great. So we've got the Wild West here with Marty and Doc. This is the scene in the car park. Love the 3 of clocks. So the suits are renamed to clocks, flux, that sort of thing. So rods, I think, was it rods, clocks? Yeah, rods. But these are the clocks that in Doc's house. When you walk in, there's all these different tick, 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 tick signs and cuckoo clocks, and yeah, so it's really cool. Again, you can see a couple of clocks here. Old Man Biff. Yeah, and isn't this better than just, you know, having 1 clock, 2 clocks, 3 clocks? A match made in space, George McFly. So this is Mayor, this is Goldie, as his life could have been. But obviously, you know, when you go back in time and you alter something, then the whole time continuum changes. Brilliant scene, trying to get the 2 cables together to connect to get that lightning conducting. And then we have rods. Yeah, I think I will watch the films this afternoon. I've got a bit of downtime. I was going to read, but much rather watch than read. Oh dear. I always say I don't have time to read, and then when I do get time, I find something else to do. But this is putting me in the mood. This is nostalgia. And yeah, oh, how the future became. Love it. Our ace of flux, so we've got the flux capacitor here. This is what enables inside the DeLorean to time travel. Oh yeah. Don't help me numbers mixed up then. Biff the odd job man. His name on his van there. Kind of in servitude to George. George. Oh, that's a classic scene. I think that's where Huey Lewis in the News is playing, isn't it? He's holding onto the back of trucks, skateboarding through the town. Way before hoverboards were invented. Flux capacitor. Oh, the amp. Some great scenes. Love this scene. This is at the end of the second film, before we go back to the Wild West, to say that this document had been kept in a safe for something like 80 years, and we didn't know if anybody would turn up. Or 70 years it would have been, wouldn't it? From 1885 to 1955? Or was it I'll have to watch the films and remember that. Yeah, this might be where the film didn't age that well for a modern audience. We'll leave it at that. Out of time. That's cool, isn't it? The King, Queen. All right, so yeah, love it. Another one that's been done really well. I love the finish on the cards as well. So that is the Back to the Future tarot deck and guidebook. Let me know your thoughts, particularly if you're a fan of the films. I realise now that not everybody might even know the films, being as the first one is 40 years ago. So I think I need to go and have a lay down, realising that. But anyway, thanks for watching, everyone. Have an enjoyable rest of your weekend. And don't forget, check the deck out at Oneness Emporium, link in the description. And as always, remember to use the code HERMITS10 if you do purchase, which is here, because you'll get 10% off at checkout. Take care, everyone, and until next time, go in peace. Namaste, and blessed be.